is Sivan, the month that we're in the Hebraic calendar. That month is connected to Zebulon, one of the sons of Israel, which is really one of the dimensions of Israel, which is a dimension of simply being a son of God yourself. So don't just think of these months as simply metaphorical, but they're actually dimensions that pass over us, or dimensions that we pass through, in which certain graces are a bit more available than they would be otherwise. So the month of Sivan actually carries the dimension of Zebulon with it. It's an open heaven. Zebulon is all about closing the distance between what has already been seen but isn't here yet. Zebulon was partnered with Issachar. Issachar lazy, he's not going nowhere. So Issachar would see, he knew the time, he knew the season, and Zebulon would go and come back. He'd go and make partnerships, go and make deals, go and make business decisions because he was minded for it. He just didn't know when to go. So Zebulon really represents that dimension of being able to close the distance. It's intercession, is what Zebulon actually is. Something that's seen. So this is a time for all of us who are visionaries, those of us who have glimpses of our futures, we have expectations, we have goals we're trying to reach. This is the moment where this is the time period where we're tried in it the most. But at the same time, this is the time where there's a grace for actually calling that which is not into now. There's a grace for intercession. In relation to that comes the topic of, well, intercession. Typically, when people hear the word intercession, they think of praying, and intercession has nothing to do with praying. The word intercede just means to close the gap, which means you're closing the distance between between two or more things, shortening the distance, eliminating the distance, bridging a gap. Well, that's the opposite of what sin is. Sin just means to be separate, or to be separate from, to separate. So you're dealing with something that closes a distance and something that creates a distance, or is the distance. Sin is simply, it's more so a state. It's not even an action. Sin is what happens. Sin is the state of being where everything is placed far away from yourself. It's never now. Either it's in the past that already happened, or maybe one day it'll happen. That's sin. It's the distance between you and whatever else is trying to be obtained. So this is something that you actually read about in the Bible. Yeshua actually rebuked Mary, Martha, and them, because they was crying about when Lazarus died. And he said, and then they said, yeah, we know he'll be back at that resurrection, one day. It's coming somewhere in the future. He said, no, I am the resurrection and the life. That was intercession in the moment. He was closing the gap. He was closing the distance. Sure, you can wait till this eventual resurrection comes, whenever that may be, or you can decide to be that right now, which is always an option. You even see later on, actually, I don't remember how to quote that verse right, so I'll leave it alone. But anytime there is a distance, a separation of sorts between a goal and the person trying to reach the goal, that would be your sin. The intercession is the closing of that gap and the acceptance of that goal. If you need to be healed, the sin is you thinking that your healing will come one day, or simply acknowledging that I can be healed or I can be delivered one day. That would be the sin. Not actually the sickness, not actually the disease. That's not the sin. The sin is the state of mind that tells you that your salvation is future, never present. The intercession for that is you to realize, oh no, wait, I'm perfect now. I'm whole now. I'm healthy now. I'm delivered now. Actually, I'm whole. I'm healthy. I'm free. None of this is on me now. Stepping into the eternal now, which is eternity itself. That's really what this month is a blessing for. So those of you who've been trying to exercise the laws of attraction and the laws of vibration, hey, we're in the perfect month for it. This is the time for you to create the world around you because there's extra grace. Zebulon's here. He's the merchant. He's the manifester. He's the one that goes and makes it happen. In fact, simultaneously, as I've taught on before, Yeshua was both Hebraic and Kemetic. Well, in the Kemetic calendar, we're currently in the month of Ptah. Ptah represents electromagnetism. The name itself means the door. Shoot, Yeshua said, I am the door. It can mean the way, but it's specifically the way maker. This is the state that we enter into where we begin to create the open heavens that we're in need of. There doesn't need to be a way. If you are the way maker, you make the ways. You are the one that opens the doors that don't exist so that what you need can come to you now. And we're all somewhat experiencing challenges in the areas of distance, whether it be health, whether it be wealth, whether it be some other thing. It's the same challenge and the same solution. It's how long will I put up with a future embrace? At what point will I get fed up enough? Will I believe in myself enough to put an end to it? So that's really what the month that we're in is about. This is the month of manifestation. This is the month of creation. This is the month of the stirring of creativity. This is the month of the waymakers in both calendars. It's getting into the energy of the end result. Sounds like how Yeshua taught prayer. When you pray, go into the innermost. Shoot, and the innermost is where all the things in the storehouse were kept. Within the temple, the innermost is the place where the Ark of the Covenant sat, which carried everything. The infinite power, the infinite revelation and information, the infinite substance and resource, all of that was kept in the Ark in the innermost. So when you begin there, you start with everything, which means you start with it. You don't beg for it because you have it. The message of God is, I have it. Not, I know how to go get it. It's, I have it. I'm there. It's now. One of my favorite David Hogan quotes is where he'd have people read that verse where it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And before they could get too far, he'd say, wait, when is faith? Now faith is now, not later. Now faith is right now. If it's way off in the future, maybe one day, if it take 30 years for you to get healed, that's not now faith. That's just eventually. Eventually is no good. I think you need it now. You're in pain now, which means you need the solution right now. You're oppressed now. I think you want liberation right now. I don't think you want to wait for some eventual. The thing that I'm emphasizing is that the power to change our circumstance is us. A common quote that I hear in my company is that we're not creatures of circumstance, we're creators of it. We're the ones that do the deciding. That is what dominion is. And something I shared at my meeting is that only gods have dominion. So for those of you who've been denying your godhood or your godship, but still claiming the dominion, I've come to let you know that they're a package deal. Only gods have dominion, which is the ability to rule within your domain. Well, what's all that mean? It means you get what you want. That's what it is. Within your domain, whatever you say goes. This is why it says you shall decree a thing and it shall be. Wait, that's kingship. That's kingship. Kings, gods, same thing. The word God just means ruler. So when you're exercising your divinity, you're exercising your kinghood, your kingship. This is your ability to take authority over the universe itself. You decide what goes on. The news said that my house was supposed to be flooded right now. We were supposed to get a big old tropical storm the weekend of my meeting. And I said, no, we not. I didn't have to pray about it. Because why in the world? I already bought plane tickets and everything else. We're not doing that. It's simply deciding. A lot of the verses that we read that talk about asking, mistranslation, it's closer to say demand. When you make a demand, you're making a decree. You're deciding. You're making a decision and standing on it because you are the figure of authority. So I believe that's the grace that's active throughout this month, is the ability to be the way maker yourself, the ability to make decisions, the ability to change your own circumstance. I'll tell y'all a story real quick, and then I'll pass it back to Apostle Vincent. Y'all see my ring, the circular one? I lost it like almost a month ago. I lost my ring. Now, obviously, it's back on my finger, and I'll tell y'all how I got it back. Now, mind you, I've been listening to Neville Goddard for like a year or two now. No, 2 years. Been listening to Neville Goddard for 2 years. And he preaches just what I was saying. Like, he's one of the greatest teachers when it comes to exercising your own dominion and divinity. And I put one of his techniques to use. He said, go to sleep as if you have it. So a few nights ago, I went to sleep imagining it on my finger. And I forgot about it. I'm like, I just went to sleep feeling like it was on my finger. Well, all of a sudden, my wife wakes up. She gets woken up full of energy in the middle of the night, finds my ring, and then places it on my finger. It's been lost for weeks. And it wasn't until I decided to close the distance, I had to step out of sin. My mentality around it before then was, I'll find it eventually. Eventually means never. So again, I'll say this. If your healing is eventually, it's never. If your deliverance is one day, it's never. Any form of salvation that's future is never.